Hey, welcome to another episode of the Philosophy Podcast. I am your host, Controversy, and to my right, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host, none other than Mr.
Darren Love.
And together, we are the Philosophy Podcast. Thank you to you guys for tuning in to a brand new episode. Thank you for tuning in once again this week, guys. And as we always say, what is on the agenda for this week, mate? What is today's
Hot topic.
That's it.
I thought we'd talk about justice today.
Justice.
Thought it'd be interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Is there any justice in the world today?
I like to think so, mate. I'm one of these people that I like to try to be optimistic and hopeful and try to be positive, you know, to say that I think sometimes they do get it right. But yeah, so this week we're talking all about
Justice.
justice. So what are your kind of thoughts and your opinions on justice, mate?
Well, my personal sort of experiences of the justice system is not too good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like it's let me down.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean. I think, like, for instance, like, you need money sometimes. You know, like if something has gone wrong,
Yeah.
you need a good solicitor. You know, do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's
All
true.
this kind of stuff. Do you know what I
And
mean?
you have to be able to afford it, like you said, you know. You have to
Yeah.
be able to, you know.
And that's what I don't really like about it, because some people, I think it's a bit unfair. If you know what I mean.
Sometimes when you have a public defender, it's kind of rigged, kind of like the system can kind of be rigged against you in a way, you know what I mean? They'll be trying to get you to take a plea deal and shit and trying to get you time and all this type of shit. So like you said, in all honesty, when it comes to like, if you're talking about law and order in terms of justice, then definitely if you wanna have a good chance at representing yourself and going up against the justice system, if you know, for whatever the reason may be, you know, obviously you don't want that to happen, but if it does happen, money does help. That is a fact, you know. You got a lot of people.
Money talks, doesn't it?
Money talks and bullshit walks, as they say, you know. But yeah, you got a lot of people today, mate. They get some high-profile lawyers and solicitors and all these different people and shit, representatives and stuff like this, and you know, a lot of people end up getting off and stuff, you know, because you know they just got the right, very good lawyers, you know, they can afford it, you know, so yeah.
I mean, I'm not too educated about law and all that, you know what I mean? Because it's one thing I've not really wanted to do for a living, for one.
Yeah.
You know, I find sort of like, who would want to do that for a living, you know, like, put people, you know.
But isn't it funny that people don't even know what the word law means though as well? Like, law is just simply basically land, air and water. You know?
That's true.
The rules and the laws of the land, air and water.
So I didn't even know that, actually.
Yeah, so law,
Yeah,
the word law stands for, it's almost like an acronym, I guess you can say. It's land, air and water. It's the rules and the you know, of the land that surround the land, the air and the water. You know, that is the law, you know.
See, all these little things you can learn, do you know what I mean? I mean, I didn't even know that, actually, you know, or think about it before.
Yeah.
But it does make sense when you think about it, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, we have got really, I think, like, human beings have got to have kind of laws.
Oh, we do, yeah.
In place. You know?
You have to have some kind of structure.
But I find that, like, you know, like, I don't know about your education at school. I wasn't taught about laws or what the laws were.
Same.
Which is quite bizarre, really.
No, to be honest, I think you're right, actually. I was going to say, I don't think ever in my primary school education or my secondary school education, because I didn't go any further, but actually, I tell a lie. I did get a health and social care diploma. I did go to college for 18 months, about 2 years. Not long after I came back to the UK, I got a health and social care diploma.
I didn't even know that.
And I did that for 2 years. You know, that's the first time I ever went to college. But when I left school at 16, I was, you know, up from the age of going to school at 5 to the age I left at 15, sorry. I think I left school at 15, 16. I was never taught about any, because obviously I was living in the Caribbean at that time, but even then I wasn't taught about, like you said, kind of like the laws of the land and things that are really important, things that you should know, if you see what I mean, so that, you know. Well, I feel in a way sometimes too they don't want people to know these things as well, because like there are some people out there, right, mate, that are so smart and so intelligent, right, that a lot of the time sometimes they end up representing themselves when it comes to because you can do that as well. You can represent yourself. You have the option of representing yourself, not having a lawyer and representing basically being your own self-appointed lawyer.
I didn't know that. I think you know more about this subject than I do actually, because it's like I say, it's one thing I've kept away from.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really like judging other people.
Same.
You know what I mean?
Same. Yeah.
You know, so I'm one of these people. I was just an artist, do you know what I mean? That's why I just like art. Do you know what I mean? I think people are different, you know.
Yeah.
And I just think it takes someone. I think that you get good money for that kind of job, you know.
If you're a barrister or a lawyer or a judge and these kind of things, they get paid relatively quite well, to be honest. You know, six figures a year.
Yeah.
For sure. Six figures a year for sure. 100, maybe a few 100,000 a year, at least. Well, before taxes, of course. You've got to pay tax too. Right?
So I think that's really what it is, really. You know, like money, sort of like people do that kind of job for the money, obviously, don't they? Because they get a lot of money for it. You know? It makes a good living, doesn't it? You know. But I find it quite a nasty living. You know, I wouldn't want to do it. Do you know what I mean? Because I just feel like I've got my heart. I feel like is quite good. Do you know what I mean? And I just don't feel like I could sort of like judge anyone else.
That's kind of how I feel too as well. It's it's like that old saying of like, how can you judge someone else? Like it's like, okay, like look at it.
Especially when you're not there or anything. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Like it's. Don't get me wrong. We have to have some kind of system in place that protects other people in society. And what I mean by that, I've just broke it down into layman's terms so that people can understand it very simply. And basically it just means a society where there is some type of structure, some kind of law and order, where vulnerable people are protected. Because sometimes you hear about old people even the other day I heard about an old lady getting mugged for a handbag. Some young nippers, you know what I mean, ran up on her and snatched her handbag. Ran off.
It goes on a lot.
You know, she fell over, and I think she might have, they had to call the ambulance and shit. You know, I didn't stay for too long.
What, around here?
Yeah. But they had to call the ambulance. And she might have broken a hip. You know, she looked like she was in her 80s or 90s, if you see what I mean. So all I'm just using that example to say is there has to be a system in place where vulnerable people are allowed to have some kind of help there, being, i.e. the police, if you see what I mean, where, you know, they need to be protected, if you see what I mean. You know, they have to have, you know, we have to have some kind of punishment for people who are doing things in society that are not constructive and deemed morally correct in our society today under the law, whether it be murder, etc. All the other things that come under that category of things that are considered a crime that are worthy to be punishable by imprisonment, sometimes life imprisonment. And in some places, before it used to be, you could get punished by death as well. It used to be you took a life, you would also, you know, your life would be taken from you at some point in the near future as well. You know, you might be in prison for a few years, and then you eventually people get executed. You know, back in the day, it used to be by hanging, as we know. Today, there are very few places that still do that, and there are very few places also that still do lethal injection. There's been some states that have actually, you know, got rid of it and say we no longer agree with this. We don't think we have the right to take anyone's life, so they can get life in prison, but we will not be executing anyone. If you see what I mean, which I kind of agree with, because you know, if you think someone's, you know, I don't think anyone has the right to do that.
In the UK, I don't know when the last person they hanged.
A long time ago.
Okay.
A long time ago. It wasn't in recent history.
And I think slowly in time, every century that goes by, let's put it that way, things are kind of improving in the way people are their heads not being calm.
Yeah.
You know? Can you imagine living in the 15th century, you know, off of his head.
That's it, guillotine.
You know, it was quite strict back then, you know.
And back then too, a lot of these people, there's nothing they could do.
No, they didn't have the police.
If you got like 15, 20 people all trying to run at you and grab you, you know what I mean? Because someone's just said off with your head, and they're following orders, you know what I mean? And they bloody trying to grab you and put you under the bloody, you know, under the guillotine.
Yeah.
Before you know it, your life is over.
I think like in the 15th century and things like that, it was quite rough times, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you think like there weren't really any electric lights at night or anything.
No.
And you think, like, there weren't any police, I don't think, you can call on the phone, do you know what I mean? You know, so you were very, you know, anyone could attack you, do you know what I mean, in a kind of way, and you couldn't really sort of report it to anyone either.
Yeah.
You did get attacked, do you know what I mean?
Exactly. People used to get killed and all sorts of shit used to happen and no one would ever know who did what and what happened, and there was no forensics and all this, you know what I mean? Oh, you know, this DNA has led us to this person and all this type of shit. No, back then people were doing all sorts of horrific, awful type shit because they generally knew they could kind of get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, now there's DNA, isn't it?
But now we live in a society where we under law and order, and we've got all these technological advancements like you were saying earlier, and you've got all this forensics and like DNA and all sorts of stuff. They get people from sometimes from people's shoe print and all sorts of things. They've got amazing, wonderful things they've created today to, you know, try to do their job, you know.
But like, I mean, my experience with police, right, honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about becoming one when I was a bit younger, do you know what I mean? Honestly, but I was at one point, do you know what I mean? Now I think, you know, like, I look at the police force in our country, the UK, and I think, well, I know that some of them are really professional at what they're doing, and they've been doing it for a number of years, do you know what I mean? It's like, if you get any job, right, like say for instance, at a supermarket or whatever, after a few years you get experience at it, do you know what I mean? And I think, like, I just feel that a lot of the police that do their jobs, I watch all these programs. There's a guy called All in Britain.
Oh yeah. On YouTube,
But he goes around the police stations, you know, filming the police, and he's really sort of like the bad apples that come up, right, that are angry with them for filming, the police station, do you know what I mean? And it kind of catches the angry people out, the bad apples, do you know what I mean? There are bad apples everywhere, I think, you know, it don't matter where you go, and I think there's bad apples in the, you know, bad police doing a bad job in the police force, right, making the other ones look bad, do you know what I mean? And I think most of the police that are working are really nice people, do you know what I mean? They've got nice hearts and that, whatever. But I mean, the way I've been, my experiences of them, you know, because I mean, I went, like, I've spoken about my divorce previously quite a few times, whatever. But the police got involved with my divorce, do you know what I mean? They said, oh, you're not allowed to go, you know, around here anymore and that, And it turned a little bit nasty, do you know what I mean? A whole lot of it, really, you know. And I think the police shouldn't get really involved in those kind of things, do you know what I mean?
Too involved in it.
You know, and then I got arrested for saying hi to my daughter from across the road. And I think, hang on, I didn't rob anyone, do you know what I mean? You know, what's going on, you know? And I think, well, today I don't really like police at all. I will not even talk to them if I can help it. Honestly, after my experiences, because one time they searched me in this home here, and they strip searched me, and they, one of them just went like that, do you know what I mean? And I, you know, do you know what I mean? And they just didn't treat me right, do you know what I mean? You know, whatever. I just know that I wasn't treated right,
Kind of abuse their authority.
Very, you can't complain about them afterwards, really, do you know what I mean? You know.
Well, you could put a complaint in, but it's whether or not something will ever happen.
That's right. You don't hear nothing. Do you know what I mean? That's
but it's
problem,
not even worth
you know?
it. It's not even worth it, like, because they'll just target you more next time they see you. They'll bloody target you. You know,
talking about the police.
That's how they, you know.
Yeah. But talking about the police again, you know, I think, like, I know, because I watch these audit in the police sort of on YouTube, you know, and I think to myself, they've only just sort of come out, you know, they've just done a bit of training, do you know what I mean, like 6 months, and they're out on the road, do you know what I mean? Talking to people.
And that's what's crazy.
You know, and these new ones, I've noticed they don't even know the laws, do you know what I mean?
But that's what, but the thing is, right, mate, a lawyer, I know we said this about this, we've talked about this briefly before, but a lawyer has to go to school, someone who studies law has to go to school and get a university education, etc. yeah, 4 or 5 years before they can actually even practice law of their chosen field, the chosen field in which they choose to go into in regards to law. So how can you have someone out here that's trained up, like you said, in 6 to 8 weeks, trained up and on the road, you know what I mean? And how can someone uphold the law in which he is completely ignorant of? Do you get what I'm saying? He or she, because you obviously get lady police, you get female police officers, you know, whatever as well. So how can you be policing a society or a community or anywhere and you have no kind of basis or understanding or whatever of the law? You have probably a very basic understanding of the whatever you've learned in the few months that you might have been there or in training or whatever else. But you know, people have to study for years to fully understand all the laws and etc. You know, it makes no sense. You know. As I say, all my experiences with the police, mate, too, have been predominantly negative too. I remember even growing up in the Caribbean, mate, like police. I remember even being young, police like used to treat you like, even when like you'd be young and you might be outside chilling with your boys on the block. And yes, you shouldn't necessarily be on the block at a young age, like that age, chilling with the older guys, you know, whatever. Yeah, I get that. But still, they will come up on the block. You might be just chilling there playing dominoes, drinking a beer or something or whatever, and they'll come and like, you know what I mean, like rough you up a bit, like they'll come and search you, if you see what I mean. Come and search you, see if you've got like any weed on you or any, you know, any whatever on you. You know, because of the environment, and then you know, then they bloody rough you up a bit.
My experience of the police, honestly,
yeah,
I just think they're quite nasty.
Yeah,
they're bullies. You think about the word bully, right? Yeah, it kind of rhymes with police. You know, bullies, police, bullies.
Yeah,
you know, it's almost the same word. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I think like police have really got to put a bit of fear into the public, do you know what I mean, in the kind of way, you know, to stop them doing bad things, you know, but I think they go beyond the joke, do you know what I mean? You know,
there's a lot of police out there that, not saying all, because there are a lot of great police too, I'm sure, that have great intentions and really want to do their job well to try and protect and serve society to the best of their ability as a person, you know. But there are a lot of police out there, unfortunately, that kind of do abuse their power, you know. And I remember even like one time I got locked up for something that didn't even belong to me, yeah. And the whole time I was trying to tell this is still over in the Caribbean until I got 16. I told these people this whole time that this thing at the time, I said to them it wasn't mine, you know. I won't go into details, but I said it wasn't mine. And for about 3 hours, they were trying to convince me that it was mine. Trying to tell me.
You're only 16?
Yeah, only 16.
Only 16, that's a funny thing, isn't
Literally pick me up, put me in the back of the van, you know. They found something which they thought was mine, but obviously it wasn't mine. And then it took me down to the station. And for 3 hours they tried to convince me in different ways. Had all sorts of different people coming in and out, asking me questions, trying to find out where this thing came from. And I said, I have no clue, no idea. And for 3-4 hours, it was, you know what I mean, it was bloody interrogation. And it was the occasional, you know what I mean, they grab you, you know what I mean, grab you by your, hold, you know what I mean, and you know, threaten you, you know,
all
sorts of shit. And for 4 hours, I said the same thing. I have no idea. I am sorry. No habla inglés.
But you know,
I don't know anything about anything, so don't ask me anything.
But it's like, you know, you're 16 though, you know, you just sort of left school basically.
But I was on the roads from young, so I already knew how to like deal with it. I already knew that it was going to be rough, but in my head I just said, listen, I don't believe in like, in the environment that I come from, like we don't believe in talking to the police. We don't believe in like snitching or any of that type of shit. Telling on someone else to, you know, to get away from going to prison or any of that shit. We don't believe in that. Like how I grew up in an environment where if you know you do the crime, you know you do the crime or you know, you're a part of something happens, then you do the time. You just, you know, you stay quiet and you do your time and you come home. But, so I always, that was always my mentality was, I'm not talking to the police, if you see what I mean. Never have, never will, if you see what I mean. Every time I've ever had any kind of dealings with the police in any way, shape or form, it was always, I have no idea. I have no clue. I have no recollection of anything you're talking about. And as soon as they start talking about this and that, lawyer, I need to see a lawyer.
It's all a money business, that's what I don't like about it, do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
all sort of, really, behind the scenes, there's a lot of money
Yeah.
being, you know, passed around and all this, do you know what I mean? It's all about money, really, making money. That's what I think. You know, it's like me, alright, yeah? Like, I mean, I did share a story, I think, a couple of weeks ago, whatever, yeah? In the last episode, I think. You know, me going around trying to deliver, you know, see my daughter. I've not seen her for a couple of years, you know, a number of years. I'm missing her like anything, do you know what I mean? So, wondering where she, you know, sort of went around there with a birthday card, you know, with some money in it. Like 50 quid or something.
Yeah.
And she wasn't there. And then I went back, and I had my ex-wife, you know, and then she slammed the door in my face kind of thing. This is at 10 o'clock at night, you know, so it's getting quite late, I suppose, you know.
Yeah.
And I did hit the window.
Yeah.
I hit it, you know, but like I say, double glazing, please know this, you know, double glazing will not break if you hammer it, you know. But anyway, I broke it, and at the end of the day, it's broke. So they arrest me for it. Fair enough, do you know what I mean? I cut my hand up, everything, you know. It was a mistake. So I owned up to it. I said, yeah, I did, you know, I accidentally broke it in kind of way. You know, I hit that window too hard and it broke, you know. So they stand me up for 23 hours.
Yeah.
In a high detention police, you know.
Yeah.
No, sorry. They stand me up not for too long, actually, for 5 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do get confused, right? Because I've been, for my ex, I've never been locked up in my life before, right, in my life, but since my divorce, I've been locked up 3 times because of my ex-wife. You know what I mean? So I do get a bit mixed up. So anyway, I spend the night, you know, and I think, well, you know, I did break the window, whatever, you know, and I did apologise the next day on Facebook to my daughter and said, sorry, you know, I didn't mean to ruin your birthday and break the window, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But anyway,